6:30. I'd like to call this meeting in order. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Number 3, any citizen desiring to be heard. Hearing none. Number 4, consideration of possible action on approving minutes for March 13th, 18th, and 24th, 2020.
I will make the motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 5 would be consideration and possible action on receiving a report from Logan County Health Department and or Logan County Emergency Management pertaining to the coronavirus. You're up, anybody?
Is it me? Or do you want to do it?
Well, I'd like to introduce myself. My name's Maggie Jackson, and I was the regional director in the northern counties of our district, and now Jan Fox is our director. She's been out, unfortunately, due to a death. So I'm serving as an incident command for our response to the coronavirus in our 8 counties. So I asked, Michael and Stacy they're local here every day. My office is in Enid, but I wanted to just be present, let you know we're in communication with David, and we're working our best to just be prepared to stand up a potential point of dispensing for testing. We don't have a date, we don't have the supplies yet, but our staff is getting prepared, our site is getting prepared. We'll have all the plans in place to be able to do that for this county. So we will keep you in the loop as soon as we know a date and a final green light for those things. So wanted to just make myself available as needed. We're going to have a stakeholders meeting again on Friday. We had a conference call last Friday, keeping our partners in the loop. And our nursing staff is continuing with contact investigation with those patients that we have confirmed. We also just want to be a resource for information, and I know Michael and Stacy are here most days available to do that. So just wanted to let you know who I am, and if I can do anything for you, share any information, want to be available.
Thank you. Could you comment on, like one report we got from the health department is we had 10 test kits. Mm-hmm. Can we report how many people we have tested in Logan County?
Mm-hmm. We, at the health department, we have actually, we lost some of our test kits due to a generator issue, but we recovered, we got new kits in, and I don't think in Logan we have used any of those yet. We're able to test based on physician referral right now at our facility, but we are, definitely, we have a rigorous screening process. We don't test people under 18. We're really utilizing those tests to find the most high-risk people so we can protect nursing homes, other situations where we might have an outbreak.
Can you say how many you have tested?
At the health department, we have not used any tests yet. Yep. Mm-hmm. If we received a referral from a physician, we could do that. But I think our hospital and physicians here still have some remaining tests, and so they haven't needed to use us as a backup yet. So we're able to do that as needed.
All right, thank you.
So you're anticipating then, number one, we're going to be focusing on the rest homes.
That is one of our
because those are at the most risk.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're getting ready to have on-spot testing, mm-hmm. as well as distribution of medications.
That we don't have yet. So with
we setting that up is what I'm trying to say.
Well, we
is that the strategy?
Our region has received very, very minimal protective equipment, personal protective equipment, and so that is having to be prioritized. So we consider the hospitals and the nursing homes to be a priority for that distribution of PPE. So if there is a nursing home that has a shortage, then they can put in a request for some support. It's so limited still, but they're first in line. We wish we could help everybody, but they're definitely a first in line. With medication, we don't have medication for coronavirus, so that is not something we'll be disseminating. But when there's a vaccine, which could be a year or 18 months, we will be potentially distributing that vaccine. It just depends on the status of the pandemic and what our community needs. So that will be in place when we get a vaccine. Yeah.
So we're not anticipating or strategizing our distribution of medications when they are available, and we are or are not the on-site spot testing that's going to be available here in hopefully the next 2 weeks, but probably more like a month. Are we anticipating setting those facilities up at either the fairgrounds or at the high school or somewhere in that nature?
Yes,
Is that
that's
what we're strategizing?
Yes, so we
Okay.
will, we'll have we have a couple different places. We're going to decide our final plans today on where we'll set up testing. The hope, I don't know yet because supplies are still on the way, checks in the mail still. We're hoping for about 100 tests, and we are hoping to publish the screening tool that we'll use ahead of time. So that will be, try to get the message to the public that this isn't for if you're well, come because you're worried and get a test. It's for the very high-risk people. It's also going to be looking for new cases. So we will screen people that did not necessarily, if you have been under quarantine, we may not test you because we know that you're keeping other people safe. If you're under 18, we're not going to test kiddos. So there's going to be some things that might make people, we'll just have to really have clear messages that, we have to prioritize the limited number of tests we have. So we are looking, we have more cases, and Canadian County is one of our counties, so we'll be looking at that site next week. It hasn't been confirmed yet, and then Logan will be next in line. So it could be in 2 weeks, depending on supplies, or
It'll be a month.
a little bit longer, yeah.
Could be.
And if I may comment
Thank
on
you.
something that she said, a question that you asked about, are we strategizing about the delivery of future medications?
Correct.
Which, first of all, right now, we do not have an approved medication
Yeah.
yet. However, I do want you to understand that this structure that we're using to disperse the testing that we're talking about was initially designed for a mass medication dispersal in case of
Right.
a crisis. So we practice that quite frequently all the time. We're actually having to modify that in this regard to do kind of a drive-through testing application to it. So when the day comes, and hopefully that'll be as soon as possible, we have a treatment in form of medication that we can hand out and go home and take this, then we go right back to what we've been training and doing for years and years and years. So we do have the capability and practice the capability of mass distribution of medications when they become available.
Okay.
It would be the same basic process that we're going to use for the testing. So instead of driving through and having the swab stuck up your nose, you drive through and say, okay, this is the medication that you need to take for you and for your family. Here you go. Go take it.
All right.
So.
All right.
All right, thank you. David, you got anything?
Well, I would just add, I was in a meeting yesterday with 5, 6 of us, and we were talking about the drive-through, trying to where that would be and
Yes.
security and all of that. And
Great.
there'll definitely be more information to come. One of the biggest deals, I got bits and pieces from other counties that have done it, just trying to reinforce to the public that they meet that criteria. One of the bigger deals that, if there's 4 of you in your family and they're all over 18 and they all think they have it, only one person in that vehicle is going to get tested, is what I've been told so far. But we're working on that. Once that is finalized and the health department has the test, we'll definitely get it out to the public. have to ask for some of their patients depending on how many people show up. But they'll have to stay in their cars, and it'll be a drive-through deal, and it will take some time, but it will give them an opportunity to potentially get tested if they meet the criteria. And one of the deals that we talked about yesterday, sounded like other counties would call. They don't have to fill out any paperwork, so nobody has to touch anything. When you get to the site, there will be somebody there that'll give you a phone number. Then when you're in line, then you'll call, talk to somebody, they'll ask you all the questions. If you meet the criteria, then you'll get to go get in line to get tested. If you don't meet the criteria, then you're going to be asked to leave. You know, and it's just kind of one of those deals. But I think we'll be able to get a lot of that criteria out ahead of time to the public, so they can, because we don't want anybody to come set in line for a long period of time to intentionally be turned away if they know ahead of time. But we're just partners with the state health department and trying to do what we can under the circumstances.
All right.
Well, I appreciate all the efforts you are doing, and thank you so very much. You bet.
Thank you. I guess there's no action needed on item 5. Item 6 to be consideration and possible action on approving the interlocal agreement between Logan County Sheriff and the City of Cashion for housing municipal prisoners. Sheriff?
Yeah, that's approached by,
They didn't have any questions for the health department then?
Well, you were sitting down there breathing pretty hard. I didn't know if you did.
No,
or not.
I'm breathing hard, I just was
Yeah,
waiting
you
my turn.
seem pretty aggravated to me. But if they're still sitting here, if you'd like to ask them something.
no, I'm just curious about, in the county, we have issues about emergency meetings and things like that. But, we've got county hospitals, we've got, we're able to, I guess, track that stuff. And I would like to understand, whether we're seeing an influx of more sick people coming in or not. That to me would be an indicator of some activity here. So those are the kind of things that I'm more interested in. Point of treatment testing hopefully will become available pretty quick. I believe that's where we'll get to see where we're really at, because until we start testing more people, we don't have a clue what we're looking at here. We have almost 60,000 people in our county. We don't, after the census, we'll know exactly, but at least that many tests to figure out who's got it, who doesn't, and to be able to isolate those pockets that have this virus. So I'm a little bit concerned that we're talking a lot about things that I don't see a lot of I don't see a lot of good coming out of what we're doing right now. The drive-through testing, call if you think you might get turned away. Those are all things that build anxiety in people, and with people being home and isolated now, the depression rate's starting to go up a bit, and I really believe that we need to start encouraging our federal folks and whomever to start implementing the point of treatment test and even at home tests. Those can be made available pretty quick if we want to do that. If we start talking about those things instead of just what I guess the party line from other folks want us to see. I believe that the news media has not done us a great justice. I think they fanned the flames of this a bit too much. We really should start looking at where the infection rates are at, and isolate those pockets. And my challenge is trying to understand the avoidance of this. I understand is to flatten the curve, right?
Yeah.
It's not to keep people from getting infected, because this is a very infectious disease. So, as we flatten this curve, if we keep flattening it out over a 6 to 8, 10 month period,
I'm not sure that our cure is worse than what the disease might bring us. So in that, do you have any insight on when the point of treatment test will be available here in Oklahoma?
I completely agree that our crisis is that we don't know. We think that there's potentially 5,000 people walking around infected, and we've only tested 1 in 10 of those. We've tested 500 positive. So we have heard that testing is available, but from the frontline point, from our hospital's perspective, this is a global supply chain crisis like we've never seen, because we're in line behind all of the countries and all of the cities who have come before us. So the supplies have not been made available still. We've heard that the health department is supposed to be getting 1,500 tests. They haven't come. So until I know that the technology is available, but
Right.
just the basic swab, to do a swab test, we have limited supply of those. So as soon as we get more swabs, as soon as the viral medium is made available, testing will increase. But we just don't have the supplies. Hospitals don't have the supplies to do more testing than those most critical cases.
How about the hospital accounts? So, I mean, is there a reason that those aren't being published? I'm just curious, because
So their
I don't
accounts,
see that on the news. I
Yeah.
don't see that being broadcast up or down, the number of beds available, those sorts of things. We talk about, the news media talks about the medical system being overwhelmed, but they don't provide any data to support that. It's all hyperbole. I don't know, it's kind of clickbait type stuff. I guess that's what sells soap anymore. But I really would like to see a little more data to back up some of these assertions, right? So is there a reason that we're not seeing hospital numbers, bed numbers, the number of beds that are occupied, vacant, respirators, the number in use, the number still available? Is there a reason that information doesn't get put out to the public on a periodic basis?
So, well, I can't speak for the hospitals themselves. I know I'm in communication with some of them, not all of them directly, but person to person, I've heard the increase that the efforts they put towards increasing their bed capacity, the respirator capacity.
Well, we all hear that. That's kind of my point. We keep hearing those things, but there's no data behind it, right?
So
that part is never talked about. So increasing our capacity, because normally you increase capacity because you're running out,
Yeah.
right? But if that's not the case, then we should probably know that. Not to say that this isn't a serious issue, because it very, very much is. But again, it's this whole thing isn't to keep people from becoming infected. It's to keep the majority of people, becoming infected all at once and overwhelming
Yes.
our medical system.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why I'm curious and concerned about tracking our medical system. I mean, the data points there. Anyway.
Yeah, we know that watching, this is a new virus, so it's not accurate to say an exact percentage of people will be hospitalized, but the projections are that 2 to 3% of people infected will need to be hospitalized. So if you spread that over our population, that's where they project the numbers, that our hospitals cannot hold that many people on ventilators, on intensive care. So they have projected, based on the spread in other countries before us and now other states and other cities, where we are seeing, I know New York is a different situation. They're very densely populated. They are having to set up separate temporary hospital situations, and they haven't peaked at their max capacity. So we're just watching it unfold in other areas.
Again, I'm more concerned with Logan County.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we can only project based on, currently it's in densely populated areas where they saw more social contact. We only know that eventually it will come here, and we fortunately get to prepare ahead of time, and our hospitals have had time to watch what they will need to prepare for.
Yes, from supposedly a leadership position here, that's why we would like to know, at least I would like to know, when that starts to come here. And the only way I would know that is getting hospital counts, because honestly, the rest of it's kind of trailing information, right?
Yeah, I
So
think they'll
leading,
have to
lagging,
see
that sort of thing. Ma'am?
The Mercy would have to have
Yeah,
that.
I understand what you're saying, but the hospitals are also supposed to report those things to the state health department. There's reports that the state health department gets from the hospitals, right?
We get, we have what we call, it's a regional medical, what's the name of it? The Regional Medical Emergency Response Coalition. They have a coalition where they report their bed counts, their capacity, and they report to, it's a statewide GIS map that we can see when someone is in, at peak capacity, needs to send someone to another site. So we do see those reports, but we haven't seen, they're not at max capacity yet. So they've been in communication with each other on how we would help each other, but they're not at that peak yet. So we can find that information, at least if you're wanting. They're not going to say we're at max capacity yet, because that's not happened, but those maps that's something that they do share with each other, and the members of the coalition have access to that information. I think that individual hospitals would speak to what they share with the public. I can't speak for them.
So the goal is, of course, that we don't over impact,
Yes.
and the curve comes down, in other words, so that curve hopefully doesn't meet your max.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that that's happening because of all the social distancing we are doing.
Yes, I've already
Okay.
seen the social distancing and people staying
It's
at home.
really knocking that peak
It's
down.
helping the rate of infection.
And so
go
the
down.
influx of new people who are in dire need of respirators and such, that number now seems to be decreasing. All right, I like that. I had a question for Logan County here. We now have a protocol, I think the protocol has been approved on refurbishing the N95 mask with a vapor phased hydrogen peroxide type of sterilization. I believe that was approved yesterday. Does Logan County have the capacity to do that type of sterilization on N95 masks?
I do not believe we do.
No.
And how could we facilitate that occurring?
Well, to be honest with you, since you're looking at me, so I'm assuming you're asking me.
Well,
I'm not
Logan
exactly sure,
County,
yeah.
I'm looking at, is it?
But I'm
is
not
that
exactly
Maggie
sure
or-
what that
It's all of
process.
us. We're all on the
Okay.
same team.
I'm not exactly sure what that process is, whether it's sticking it in a vat or dipping it in a liquid or some such thing, how technologically involved that is.
It's a vapor phase.
It's
In other words,
But
when
is
you're-
it, something that, it surrounds it in some kind of vapor, if it's in a chamber, that type of thing? No, we don't have that capacity at all, and I'm not sure what the cost of that type of equipment would be. It would likely, and this is me just kind of going out on a limb right here in front of the TV camera, that it would probably be something that would be done at the centralized level, which would be at our state health department in the city. If it's something that's affordable, I suppose it's something we could look at. I'm just using the word supposed a lot because honestly, I don't know what the dollar value for that thing.
How are we doing on our N95 masks?
We
Do
don't
we
have
have a
any
supply?
N95 masks at the Logan County Health Department.
We
At the
have,
moment?
yeah, we have Our nursing staff has maybe one, there's a
Oh, we
few
do?
extra,
Okay.
but they're very limited. So reuse of those masks has been a topic of conversation. That's why we're saving them for just if we do potential testing, that's when they're a priority to use. And we have procedures with our face masks that we can clean and reutilize those. But I definitely want to see if we can have that capacity to reuse masks, because across the state and our county, we're going to have a shortage. We've heard of a lot of manufacturing going on, but we haven't seen those coming our way yet.
And the reason what you bring up is so important is because I'm not sure a lot of people understand how those N95 masks work. It's not pull it out of the box, put it on and wear it, you know, for the rest of your life. It has a filter in it that has to be either replaced, or as you were pointing out, there may be processes where it can be sanitized and reused. So it's not like, you know, pulling your regular mask out of a box that most of us are aware of and sticking it on your face. It's kind of a highly technologically advanced mask to use, which is required for situations like this.
I think we'll go back and check with our nursing staff if they've given any protocols about how we could potentially do that, but we'll have to be given the protocol to do that. And with the data on the hospitals, I don't have that with me, but I know we can try our best to find I know where to find the map on their bed counts and things like that. So I'd be happy to share what I can find on where the hospitals stand and what they're preparing for, and at least from the health department, what they've shared with the coalition. And I would like to get that back to you as soon as we can.
I just think it's something that needs to be tracked.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Marty.
Do the best you can with what you
Yes,
have.
yes.
Good job.
Thank you. If there's any other specific questions, please send them to us through David. I don't have cards today, but Michael's here, we're all here, so.
All right, thank y'all for coming. All right, Damon, what do you got on the jail situation?
I was approached by Cassia PD they were interested in us being able to house some of their municipal inmates. Right now, of course, we're not housing any municipal inmates because of what's going on. This is basically the same agreement that we had with Crescent, and it seemed to work fine.
It ain't like they generate a lot of inmates, is it?
No, in fact, we're capped at 10 at any given time, and there's clauses in the contract that we can, you know, even limit that if we need to. But like I told him as well as Crescent, is we've suspended all housing unless it's an absolute emergency and meets the criteria of what we're willing to accept.
All right, thank you.
I'm make the motion, we accept the agreement.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 7, consideration of possible action to approve resolution accepting $750 donation from VFW Post 4578 and $750 from VFW Auxiliary Post 4578, the Sheriff's Office, to purchase vest carriers. I don't know what a vest carrier is.
Well, it's you know, there's this movement across the United States to be able to have these external carriers we can wear on the outside of our uniforms that hold all of our gear to take the weight off our hips. Believe it or not, there's starting to be science proving that wearing all that stuff on our hips is causing some damage. So the thing we're wanting to do is look at some options to be able to wear those external carriers that have kind of somewhat of a volley system to be able to carry that on our bodies instead of just on our hips. And VFW's wanting to do a fundraiser, and they asked the things that we could use, and I told them right now we're really trying to get some made together to start purchasing these vest carriers for our guys. So that's what they're raising the funds for.
Awesome. I'll move we approve.
Second that motion.
I'll have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Damon.
Thank you. Thank VFW for doing that.
Yeah, thank them a lot. It's great. Item 8, consideration and possible action on approving a resolution accepting the following donations to District 2 for gravel to be placed on Oak Valley Drive and Red Cedar Road.
I think that brings that to completion, the contributions for gravel. So I make the motion to approve. A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Tell you not to scratch your nose down my nose, it's itchy. Item 9, consideration and
I got
possible
a
action.
paperclip here if you need.
Yeah, I might be.
Well, it doesn't say that somebody else can't touch your face.
Well, come over here and
You
rub
just
it
can't touch it. I'll rub it with something.
A resolution accepting $584 donation from Mount Pilgrim Cemetery Association to District 2 for a culvert to be placed on Dobbs.
I'll make the motion to approve that. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 10, consideration and possible action to approve a resolution accepting $353 donation from Virgil and Wilma Clark and $20 donation from Shirley Phillips to District 2.
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 11, consideration and possible action on approving a resolution accepting $31,600 donation from Oakwood Creek Homeowners Association to District 1 for road base repairs in Oakwood Creek Addition.
This is to use the current 6-month contract we have for base repair. The county or district is kicking in $8,000. The total cost for this is $39,600, and we're putting in $8,000 for them. It is a road that that was adopted before before I got to be a county commissioner. So it's I'm really proud of these folks coming together and wanting to fix their roads and ponying up the money to do that.
Was that a motion?
I will make a motion that we accept this.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 12, consideration and possible action to acknowledge receipt of notice of tort claim for Lisa, Ray, and forward to ACO claims. I'll move that we acknowledge and forward to ACO.
I will second and ask what the claim is for. The only reason I ask is that I had one come through about a year ago that was for District 1, and I forgot to ask, and then it went out and that sort of thing. So anybody got the Cliff Notes version of this?
Accident with a sheriff's deputy.
Ah.
No, I second all three.
Did you make the motion?
In the city.
I think I
on the
seconded it.
off-ramp.
I did make
Okay.
a motion, Marvin
Oh,
seconded.
yeah, transport.
I just wanted to know
I was
what we were-
looking through it.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, call for vote. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. You need to sign it. Item 13, consideration and possible action for the lease with Pitney Bowles and 4 postage machine in the county assessor's office. Do they still need this? I'll just check. I'm doing contracts if it's not needed.
We can't ask them.
Sure, be careful, we do that.
No. I thought I sent it to you. When I sent it back.
I'll make a
Yeah,
motion we
I'm
approve.
also-
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, motion carries.
Have none for 14 and 15.
Alrighty, thank you. Item 16, consideration of possible action on consent agenda items.
Hi, Roland.
Don't want to wake my fingers. Hard to get these sheets up.
Or you look like you're in timeout. I bet the teacher
There's
does.
probably been many occasions they wanted to put me in timeout, so.
How would we function?
That's what I feel.
The only thing that saves me.
Can't do it without you.
Are you starting to cue the music when the paper signing starts?
No, I gotta figure something out for this.
You can hum.
How many's watching?
Well, it's now down to 33.
Oh, you could push the button you were pushing in the podcast last night.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We were at 80, steady 80 for a while.
Wow.
Which is not bad for live. They're requesting more share time.
More share time.
More share time. With Troy's new position, we weren't able to zoom in on the tight shot on you.
Strategic seating.
You know, I've got a table that would push me far enough back I could get out of the shot all the way.
I know, I got you in there.
And then just wax it up real good and mold them pages down there.
Damon, y'all have any luck the other day?
No, sir. We got them identified. We just gotta round them up now.
Have the county wrestled.
You have a story on the unearthed truck?
I haven't heard if they were able to get any numbers off of it or not.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, got the VIN, got the model, year, all that stuff. Even located the, you definitely even located the last registrant, and I believe you'll be following up with him.
Good.
Another out of county.
Transfer.
Can't keep them out. I saw it lost some tires.
Looked like it had been burned.
Yeah.
Blankets.
That was some tricky, what do you call that, machinery on the stove.
Well, I tell you what, that operator, he's got all my admiration. He had that thing sitting on about 45-degree slope.
Yeah. I've been in with the vehicle.
Sucked it out of there like a sore tooth.
Unsigned.
And we probably wait for someone to come in.
Should be like a Board of County Commissioners notary.
I guess there is, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I meant for like each paper, you can just say,
Sign that.
Stamp it.
we look at them, we all look at them together. You still do this process, you just don't have to sign every single one of them. And then after you approve them, Troy goes back to the office and stamps every single one of them.
I'll vote aye on that.
I will second that motion.
You think there would be like if it's unanimous, a universal stamp,
Well,
that you guys sign off at the beginning of the year or whatever?
that would require also approval and concurrence of the state auditor.
Well, sure, yeah.
again,
So you guys aren't the special ones to do this?
we're not that special. Well, I mean, Monty and Mike are, but.
Well, it was.
Some time ago, Troy did an awful lot to decrease our amount of signing we had to do, but I don't know if she's gone through it again to see if there's more we could do to decrease our signature requirement. Probably not.
Permanently or during this crisis?
All together now.
All the above.
Yes and yes.
I was just saying it'd be cool if they look at every single thing like they do, and then have a universal notary.
We've been instructed through the crisis that we could take some actions, but it would only be during this, as the long term.
We may consider that as this wave starts cresting here in Logan County. You never know.
Well, even to apply a digital signatures to them, I would have to make sure everything was scanned and then go through page by page, so.
So like at Oklahoma County at the end of the meeting, when the cameras
I think
go
they
off?
use digital signatures. Somebody goes back through and applies them. Tulsa County, I think, does that. They have a whole lot more hands working in offices to keep up with some of that stuff than I do. Election board claim.
Get my technology team on that.
What is it, Doc?
Which might explain why we're signing everything.
Got a nice, pretty website. What more do you want?
It is pretty.
I like that website.
Alcoholic beverage tax. Get out your camera.
It's ready to go. Might be.
Oh, what's up?
Yeah, I bet it is.
Has anyone tried a delivery yet?
They're essentially,
Drive up.
Liquor and gun shops are essential.
they have lines.
What was that I saw about Stables? They had takeout drinks, whatever.
Oh, no,
Drive-by drinking. I don't know about
That
that.
might be down. It'll be next month anyway.
They're not drink driving Logan County.
Sure.
Road to Sheriff speed.
They take the radio station.
Set in on the consent.
It is. I was just like,
Yeah, I'm just asking.
I got 2 more documents and I'll be done. I'll move we approve consent.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the consent agenda items. Any further discussion? Chris, you got any other discussion on that?
I'm good.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. 17, consideration and possible action on approving claims for payment for March 2020. So we approve all the blanket purchases. Now we're going to approve them again because they actually used them.
well, that was when they got started. Now this is the end point.
Yep.
County assessor.
It's a D2.
Guess we didn't anticipate that.
D2.
Yep.
You gonna start that?
All right. District Attorney.
There you go, good guy.
District Attorney. District Attorney. Same way.
Next verse, same as the first.
OSU. Treasurer.
Well, let's not go.
Yeah, I don't see very many on the treasurer.
Yeah.
Election board, very few on them as well.
Like I had a couple in there. Maybe 3 or 5.
Mine's coming.
Holy moly. I'm gonna blame it on the
You're an
virus.
escape artist this time, I think.
I'm gonna blame it on the virus.
The dog gets lucky. Once in a while.
He goes through them all before the meeting.
Ah.
And like, he knows he can announce or not announce.
It's not a true story. I call myself out pretty quick.
Yep.
I'll move we approve the claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries.
There are no P-card claims.
Any citizen desiring to be heard?
Wish there were more tests. Not our local health department's fault, but I wish there were more tests available. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Chris, for them comments. Chris Evans, right?
Chris Evans, 2016 Glory Place.
All right, anybody else? Hearing none, item 20, comments, announcements, questions by the Board of County Commissioners. Mike?
Through the grapevine, the Senate is considering a moratorium on gross production tax for the oil companies for 6 months, which would maybe impact our income. Isn't ours also that same revenue stream, I believe, Troy? The gross production tax?
Well, the gross production is collected in whole, and you get a big part of it for
Oh.
production in our county. So it depend, I mean, whatever they did, it would depend the wording, and are they just gonna, the part that the state maintains or off the whole? It would all
So
depend on how
have
they do
that
it.
parameter. Okay. I was curious about that. That's all I have.
Yes, sir, thank you. First of all, I would like to compliment the sheriff's environmental deputy program. We went out and filled up a roll-off dumpster, one of those big ones. It's kind of like the site that you had up North Montague. You guys filled up 2 of them. We just filled up 1. But we're still got some minor stuff to pick up out there, but we recovered that truck out there, and the sheriff's office is pursuing that. The deputies are pursuing that. One of the things I wanted to bring up on that is about 3 weeks ago, I guess now, our environmental deputy was driving down in the city of Guthrie, and a lady pulled out in front of him, and they basically totaled his truck that he had. The numbers that I've got on it, and this, I'm just kind of sketchy, Dan, maybe you can help me out with this, but I think the insurance company's gonna pay like $22,000 on the truck or something like that.
I heard it was 18.
Okay, so, yeah, and so to replace it's gonna be closer to 28-ish. And so there are some some folks we're trying to get donations from other state agencies, from the environmental folks and that kind of stuff. There's some grants that may be available there. But one of the things that I wanted to do, and Troy, help me out here if I get out of line on the finance part, because I often let my mouth overload my wallet as far as the county goes. But I would like from District 1 to, at our next meeting, discuss the donation of $1,000 from my road district to help that as far as cleaning up our county roads. If there's a way that we can do that.
I appreciate the sentiment, but that road money could not be, we couldn't move it that direction. What I would recommend, as absolutely possible, would be for an agenda item, or we can do the thing. I think, do we know about when ACO's gonna write us a check?
We are talking to him because I know there's several things that in the estimate that they gave us as far as the insurance claims, it didn't include any of the emergency equipment or any stuff like that. So we're
Are they
still
pursuing the other driver for reimbursement?
I would assume they would be.
Okay.
But I don't.
So here's what I would recommend that the board ponder on, and the action could be done at the next meeting, and that is that we actually just do a transfer from general government capital outlay in the amount of the replacement cost of the vehicle. When the check comes in from ACO, it goes back for whatever amount it is, and then within the general fund to general fund, because the sheriff also has general fund accounts, then the county would actually just be making up the difference in that respect. If we got any further money from ACO when they recover, we could put it back to general government capital outlay.
Right, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Because the thing that I wanted to bring to the board's attention is that this is outside of what the sheriff had budgeted for this year. Sure. As far as funds available. Nobody really thinks about or budgets for, vehicles being totaled out. And this is a very important.
I guess.
As far as I'm concerned, this is a very, very important project from our sheriff's office, and it's a cooperative effort between the road districts, our road districts, and the sheriff's office to clean up Logan County roads.
So I would point out that if you all remember at budget time where we were sitting a little better for this budget year than we anticipated going into it, and we put some money back in savings. That's that general government capital. This is items like this that pays off, because we'll keep it all in general fund. It's only going to require a basic transfer.
Right.
So to accomplish that.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, do you have problems with that on the agenda for? Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're good, Judge.
I only had one other kind of comment. It has to do with the testing and test kits for this for the coronavirus thing. And I certainly appreciate and understand that our state and county health departments, their hands are pretty much tied on what they get and what they can do and those sorts of things. But I do want to point out that on the federal side, the Centers for Disease Control and the FDA have been nothing but roadblocks up until this last week on implementing and allowing the companies that do that kind of work, the medical companies that develop these tests and do those sorts of things, to do what they do best, and that is to respond to these emergencies. Anytime, our president was told by the director of the FDA that it was going to take 18 months to get the mass sterilization done that was brought up earlier. And he said, no, I don't want 18 months. I want it done tomorrow. I want it done today. And it got done today. And those are the kind of things we can't allow the bureaucrats to get in the way of what makes sense. And until we get point of treatment testing and even home testing, like and I'm going to bring up like the home pregnancy test. I mean, they can develop tests today to where you can test for the coronavirus in your home if that was allowed. I am, for the life of me, don't understand why they don't allow this to happen, because once we find out, first of all, how infectious it is, and then also the, how many people get infected that don't ever show symptoms, right? The younger people that, not to test young people 18 and under, it seems to me to be counterintuitive. Because those are the people that don't get really sick from it and can spread it. I just don't understand these things. But I do appreciate having someone in Washington D.C. that's trying to help us cut through the bureaucratic roadblocks that have been put up in the medical industry. The other thing is bed counts. The reason that we have so few beds in Oklahoma and throughout the nation is that you have to apply for a certificate of need in order to put in a hospital or a nursing home or something like that. And so the government determines whether or not a community actually needs extra beds, and that takes so long to get done as well. And I may have been breathing hard earlier, Maya, and I apologize if it was disruptive. But I really am, I get frustrated when I hear the party line come out all the time. You know, we have to shelter in place, we have to isolate ourselves. This thing is terrible. It is bad. It is bad. But until we get people tested, we don't know how bad it is. We don't know how much it spreads. We don't know what the infection rate and how it correlates to the death rate. Those are all speculative things right now, and they're being blown out of proportion by the news media that only wants to talk about how bad things are. Things can be bad. They are, but things are really bad for people right now that are out of work, out of jobs. The end of the month is coming up. This is today, the end of the month, and people aren't getting paid, and bills are due tomorrow for a lot of those people, and they don't know how they're going to get paid. And until we start testing and start taking some proactive steps as a state, I think that this is just going to get worse. And that's why I said I believe right now the way we're looking at this, the way this is being handled, is the cure, so to speak, is actually worse than the disease. And so with that, I'll give back and quit talking. Thanks, Monty.
Not a problem. Anything else? How about adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.